Welcome back to California Life Podcast, Film Critics. And today we are with the only one, Dr. C, discussing probably the most legendary sequel of James Bond films, the story. And Dr. C, I know that you are the expert.
I don't know about
Whenever
that,
I
but
would,
thank you.
Colleen shared with me behind the scenes that she's also a big fan of the
Huge
story.
fan of
Awesome.
James
And
Bond, yes.
That's awesome.
Very excited when I
to-
was told that that we were going to be talking about James Bond films. So
That's
James
great.
Bond and Dr. C, also known as Dr. Beast. So Doctor in the during daytime, and Dr. Beast, who is dealing with crime during nighttime.
okay.
All right, I'll take it.
Do you have
So,
your own superhero outfit, Dr. C?
I actually have a 007 jacket and
Okay.
a very special, very special friend and a brother gave it to me as a gift, and he's actually is with us right now. His name is Victor. So
Okay.
I'm gonna
Sure.
I'm gonna grab it in a couple of minutes and wear it so you can see.
I want to see that. That sounds good.
And also it's a 007 pen, very special.
Okay.
well, we won't mention the guns, right?
Oh yeah, well, we can, but
We don't want to
whatever.
get censored. Oh.
By the way, back to the story of Dr. Beast, Dr. C, the guns and stuff. We filmed a documentary film based on the true life story of Dr. C, aka Dr. Beast. I'll show right now a little clip,
Great.
and we'll be right back.
Great.
And we are back. So, it's a wonderful story, created, I think, by Ian Fleming, right, back in
That's
the
correct.
50s,
Right.
in England.
Correct.
There is nothing that I think we can or should criticize about all the films, but since I am right now with the experts on the film, the story, let's begin our discussion with 007. Was played by multiple different actors, from Sean Connery to Daniel Craig.
Correct.
And I guess let's start the discussion. Who do you think portrayed James Bond the best, and why?
Well, but as you know, Sean Connery was the OG. He was the original character for 007, and he back in the 50s and the early 50s, and he portrayed the character very, very well. He was young, and he accepted the job, and I believe he was offered $1.1 million for the role, and he accepted it. And he was such an amazing character. He played the role so well. He donated all his earnings to charity. So I learned that uh, being a big fan of 007.
Okay, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Sean Connery, he was given the of course the Aston Martin as the car to drive, since it was the fastest car at that time.
Hmm.
So that was the iconic car for 007 in James Bond at that time. So,
Right.
and it was DB5 to be exact. DB5 was the first model of the Aston Martin, and since it had amazing speed and an amazing charm, so they chose it to be the 007 car of choice.
Hmm.
Yeah. So to answer your question more about the character, I mean, I think Sean Connery, he was the original character, and who, of course, he really started the role. So he was the iconic character for the 007. Daniel Craig is also one of my favorite, since he was more of the hip character, and just the recent movies. Pierce Brosnan also, he played the character really well.
Mhm.
I think those are my three favorite
Those are your
characters,
top
actually.
three?
Yes,
Okay. Well, I agree. I think, having Sean Connery as the OG, starting with Dr. No in 1962, that's how the world was introduced to James Bond, other than the people who read Ian Fleming's books, which I've read
true.
all of them and love them all. I am such a fan. I started with the movies, obviously, but as I became accustomed and aware of the character and fell in love with the films, then I started reading all the books and just devoured
True.
them. So they're wonderful.
The same,
To
the same,
me,
absolutely.
so I agree with you. I think that what most people don't know if they haven't read the books is that James Bond as a character, the way he's written, he's much more gruff. He's much more real. He's much more down to earth and gritty and
What do you mean? Yeah,
yeah. So I think Sean Connery gets that
true,
manly, just brings
true.
brings that
Very masculine,
very
masculine
masculine,
look.
yeah.
Yes,
But but
exactly, exactly.
but not to where the movies went that kind of left me wanting, and they're fun, but when they got very gadget oriented,
Right.
and it allowed the character to depend on the gadgets rather than his cunning and his sheer strength, and honestly just luck. I mean, James Bond was written to where he was just lucky a lot of times. That's how he got out of
100%.
lives,
It's
right?
true. 100% true.
Yeah, so I think Sean Connery epitomized that for us, introduced us to the character. But I agree with you, Daniel Craig also embodied that. But my third pick on that would be Timothy Dalton.
Timothy
I
Dalton. Yes,
think Timothy Dalton brought an edge, sort of a
true.
rawness to him, of just that grit that I really loved about the James Bond character. So those would be my top three.
I mean, I also agree with you. I think every character had its own style.
Yes,
Each character had its own style,
Bond.
which made it more, yeah, more interesting, and more. They show their own sophistication,
Yes.
and that give them more charm and more charisma
Yeah.
for
Pierce
each character.
Brosnan
Yeah.
certainly had that. He was the more charming, suave, could handle
Yeah,
himself in any situation. You never had a doubt about that, you know.
very true,
It
very
wasn't
true,
like his brute
very true.
strength was gonna get him out of things. Sometimes he just charmed his way out, right?
So true, so true. That's what made James Bond, 007 character, is very likable. I mean, like they said, 007, James Bond first movie, I think was the biggest hit ever.
Mm.
It did the most money out of any movie in history.
I did remember reading that. Like Dr. No,
Yeah,
amazing.
Doctor No. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And Goldfinger, I think was huge as well. You know, in that
yes.
era. So,
And
yeah.
I want to ask you
Mhm.
because there are some things I'm so excited about this because there's a lot of things I love about James Bond.
Me too.
And number one, it's the longest running franchise of any
True.
films ever. It's like 70
True.
years now. Started in 62,
True.
now we're at 2025. So,
True.
and it's still going strong. Like people still love
Yes.
the character, love the movies. And then the thing that everybody looks forward to that it's become known for, and I'm going to list off the ones that I can think of, but if you want to add to this list or jump in with anything, you know. So it starts with the opening scene. The opening scene is always iconic. It's always some great stunt. It's some kind of, it sets the tone for the movie, but they make it very, either somebody's bungee jumping off a, 300-foot dam, or
Right.
or you know, there's some aerial acrobatics or something that gets us on the edge of our seats, and they're
Very
known for
true.
that. And then their opening credits, not just the opening sequence and scene, but the credits have gotten so elaborate and beautiful. And I even have my top ones, my favorite ones when it comes to the opening credits, how well done they are.
Yes.
The
Agree.
theme song, I mean, everybody knows the James Bond theme song.
So true. Absolutely.
Just completely iconic. And then each movie has its own song itself, like Thunderball. Talk about
Right.
what movies are really known for. Oh my God. Thunderball, and then Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger, and
Yes.
right?
The Skyfall.
Just, oh, they stand out. So what would be
Yeah.
things that you love about James Bond, as far as the length of the series and the franchise and the things that you look forward to when you know a new movie's coming out?
I like I said from day one. I mean, I watched all the movies and I read some of the books. It's just the intriguing element in each movie that keeps you on your toes. You know, or like keeps your attention 100% attention. Attention span is 100% watching on a especially big screen, uh, so there's the element of romance,
Mhm,
excitement, the violence, and also the gadgets. I think a mix of so many factors in the movie that makes it exciting. It's not just uh, uh, a love story, or it's not just shooting scenes. It's a little bit of everything
mhm,
that made the movie what it is, and what made it likable and more of a selling point.
mhm.
So that's what I like, a little bit of everything. So uh, the element of intrigue and not knowing what's going to happen, as I know that wasn't predictable, especially in some movies where the 007 was not really killed, but he was injured, and you thought that's it, that's the end, and then they come up with a new movie that he recovered and he's fine. You know, I don't want to mention which movie it is, but if you know what I'm talking about. So, uh, but talking to a lot of people, a lot of friends, and even my kid, I tell them like which movie that you can think that stays with you and you remember, and they say 007 since they were babies. I have twins. They're
Okay,
24 years of age now,
okay,
and they since they were babies, they would watch with me 007.
yeah.
Uh, and they actually they couldn't even pronounce James Bond. They used to say, "We want to watch James Bonds."
Bombs. Well, there's a lot of things
I
blowing
mean,
up,
very much
so sure.
it did fit. So until now, I remind them about that, and they laugh. Until now, that's their favorite because they learned from that, and they see the books. Matter of fact, I do have. If I show you, I have a book here. It's said 007. I
Okay.
don't, can you see on the
Yes, I
screen?
can.
The,
50 greatest
the
bond
cars.
cars. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it shows you everything inside about every single car they drove. They drove at least about like 40 different type of cars, from Aston Martin uh, to Ford Mustang to the Rolls. There's so many cars.
So you may know this. I want to
So
ask
big.
you this question. So it
Sure.
was one of the later ones, and I'm pretty sure it was a Daniel Craig Bond movie. And I think
Mhm.
he's driving a BMW, but it's the one
Yes, one
where
of them.
he's in the middle of like a city center and he's doing these
It,
donuts and he's going
that's
around
right.
and around and
Oh yes, that's right. And they're shooting at him, and nothing's happening
yeah, yeah.
because yeah,
That
because
was
it's bulletproof.
yes,
That's right.
exactly. But that a BMW?
BMW.
Okay,
Also,
that's what
there's
I
a
thought.
BMW scene. Sorry, BMW scene in the parking lot when uh, uh, he turns the he turns uh, that's like an app or something on his phone, and
Oh
then
yeah,
they start shooting, and the bullets were bouncing back,
yeah.
the ricochet
Yes,
of the
yes.
of the glass, and
Yeah, that was great.
then that was really amazing scene. So like I said, like there's always so that the intriguing factor about the cars being exotic, so made give it a little more flavor, I think,
Well, yes.
added to the character,
Just like the
right?
locations, that's the one thing, well, of many things that you can count on when you go see a James Bond film, is that you know you're going to have exotic locations. It's not just going to
Exactly.
be one place. It's going to be all over the world, and car
So
chases in Italy or in Istanbul or someplace, right?
so true, so
Yeah.
true. So that's why. So the nice thing about the 007 movies, James Bond, is as wasn't expected to be only in England, in the United States. So it's all over the world, and very exotic places, even in places where I chose to go and visit
Ah.
afterward. Yeah,
Oh, did you do like a
like in
world tour
Thailand.
based on James Bond movies?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's so
Thailand is one of them. I haven't gone to like other places, but I went to Thailand where they shot a movie there. Um, so I am this definitely on my bucket list is to go see where they filmed all these movies.
that'd be fun. That's very fun.
Yeah.
So I have
Will
So
another
definitely be fun. Yeah.
Victor. You're gonna have to just jump in here because we're gonna be going back and forth. So you want to say
oh yeah.
Well, I'm
okay?
enjoying. I'm enjoying because
My question for
to
you,
me,
Dr.
yeah. Go ahead.
C, is
Yeah.
this is twofold, and
Yeah.
twofold, and one is your favorite Bond villain or villains, and male and female. Like if you remember them, like what movies was your favorite Bond villain in, and your favorite female villain?
The favorite female was Halle Berry. Actually, she played such a good role. And
She wasn't a villain though. She was one of the good girls, wasn't she?
oh no, no, yeah, I'm saying it's my favorite female character. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay,
but
okay.
yeah, a villain. I really can't think of. Uh, I think I really can't think of the villain right now for some
Okay, that's
reason.
okay. So, what about a male villain? Like, who's your favorite bad guy
Um,
or
let's
most
see.
memorable to you? Like, which one do you think really stood out as most memorable?
I uh, what was it? Goldfinger.
Oh yeah, Goldfinger was pretty
The
cool.
Goldfinger. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that was he was really bad.
yeah.
So
No, that
I
was
think
a
that
good
stood up
one.
for me. I can't think of his name, but yeah, that
Well,
was
I
the Goldfinger
remember
one.
as a young woman watching that for the first time, and when they show the scene of the model, the woman who is painted head to toe in gold, and then they say, "Oh, she
Yeah,
died because she suffocated." Like I just went,
yeah.
that really freaked me out. I thought that can happen. It's very educational. So you learn something watching James Bond movies.
You know, the nice thing about also James Bond movies, there was no AI, there was no special effects. So whatever they came up with, it was simple, but it was intriguing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
especially their stunts. A lot of them were
It was fun.
mechanical. They
That's
were
right.
real stunts.
Exactly. Exactly what I was getting to. That the stunts were incredible, and but to tell you the truth, I treated so many stunt people that even played in James Bond movies.
Ah,
So that was amazing. I said, "Wow!" I took picture with them. The stunt guys.
you're
So
thinking this could
even
keep me in business.
yeah, exactly. So I still see stunt people that they do in different movies, but I haven't seen lately anybody doing. Anything for 007, maybe then upcoming movies. And I think I'm not sure if you're aware who's going to be the next 007 chosen. Do you know? I
Um,
do know, but
I don't. Okay, what I know
it is.
is
Uh-huh.
what's rumored. So I haven't heard the official choice, but the name.
Yep.
Let me see. I wrote it down. Where did I put him?
Starts with a T.
Taylor something.
No, Tom Harding.
Aaron Taylor
I hope it's
Johnson.
not Taylor Swift. Yeah.
No, Tom Harding.
Tom Harding.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he's going to be the next. So
Oh,
yeah, reading a lot of. So I think he'll do a good job.
yeah.
Tom Harding is I think, doing a good job.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
look
mean,
up some of his
he can.
stuff.
Yeah, he can fit that character and play it well. He's
Tom Harding.
he got that charisma. That
No,
look.
that's very important. That's
Yeah,
probably one of the
yeah,
most important things. That they have to physically look like they can pull it off, but they have to have that
that,
magnetism, that charisma.
that's right. That's what have to have that the charisma, the the adorable look, and the masculine look.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
they have to be liked
Yeah,
by.
it's interesting. If they're too pretty, it doesn't actually work because in Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one
Yes,
Bond that everybody hates is who was a male model, and George Lazenby. Like they hired him because he was a male model, and everybody and he
right.
couldn't act for
Yeah,
anybody.
exactly.
But you know what's funny is script wise, that's one of my favorite Bonds because Bond actually
Really,
falls in love and you see the romance between he and Diana Rigg and they get married. Like that's the only
right.
time you see where he actually marries.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, just flamboyant. He likes to play and he likes
right.
to date.
No, he
Yeah, but
falls in
that's right.
love and he of course I'm all the romantic. I'm like, "Oh yeah."
That's
So, I love that.
that's right. Very good. Yes,
Um
agreed.
what did you think about Never Say Never Again, the comeback for Sean Connery? Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do. The same with the Casino Royale. The comeback. That was also the comeback was good, but played by Daniel Craig. The second movie. The original was Casino Royale. Royale. You know what? It's different. I mean, Never Say Never, as the first one was a bit different. The sequel was not as good for some reason. I don't know what is
Well, when I
something
say
was
comeback, I just mean that Sean Connery had taken such a long hiatus because the reason they
right.
named it Never Say Never is when he left the
Yeah,
franchise, he said, "I'm never doing this again."
yeah,
Right? He said, "I'm never." Well,
that's true. That's true.
never
Yeah,
say
yeah,
never because he came back and he did do it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
I love that part, but I liked seeing an older Bond, this more settled, sophisticated. He was still rough around the edges and all that, but it was kind of fun to
Right.
see.
Listen, I mean, he can pull it off.
Yeah,
I mean, pull it.
yeah,
Who was God bless his soul. He was an amazing, amazing actor, and I watch him in many, many movies. And
yeah.
um,
No, he did well no matter what age he was when he played it. And the other
yeah.
reason I wanted to bring that movie up because when I think about villains and villainesses, and all that, it just happens that my favorite villain and my favorite female villain are both in that movie, Never Say Never Again. So,
Oh,
I hope I get his name right. I'm going to try and say it without looking. Klaus Maria Brandauer
oh, wow. Yeah.
Klaus Maria
Oh,
Brandauer was the
yeah, I think you're
Klaus
right.
Maria Brandauer was the villain. He played Maximilian Largo. And then
Yes.
Barbara Pereira, oh my God, she was brilliant
Oh, yeah.
as Fatima Blush.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
That's
know if you remember this. This is a very
mm,
female thing to remember, but
yes. She was very sexy in the movie.
Oh, very sexy. But there's this
Yeah,
one scene where she is dressed to the hilt. She is wearing like 4-inch stilettos and she is running
I remember that.
downstairs,
Yeah,
running without looking, never looked down once, running down the stairs in stilettos. And I'm like,
that's
oh
crazy.
my God, how did she do that? Like,
That's a stunt by itself.
exactly.
That's amazing. Yeah. Listen, your memory is better than mine. I mean, I love the movies. I've seen them all. I've read the books, but it's my memory is not serving me right now.
No, no, no. That's well, Victor said we were going to be talking about James Bond movies, and I went, well, this is my jam. I love James Bond, but I also did my homework. I wanted to be refreshed, so I printed out a list of all the movies
Oh,
so I could
oh
see
yes.
them in order, and and um and I also did like how many movies each of the Bonds did.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah.
Sean Connery did 7, including Never Say Never Again. Roger Moore did 7. I mean, he had a huge run. He was Bond
Did.
for a long time.
Wow. I sorry. You know Roger Moore?
Yeah.
He. I learned about him that he never uh, did even a milestone. He never even ran in the movie. They always had a stuntman.
Oh,
So he
oh.
he
He didn't do
couldn't. Yeah,
yeah.
he couldn't move
No,
too
no
too well.
athleticism. Yeah, well, he had the
Yeah,
look
exactly.
though. They
Yeah. So yeah, he got the look. Yeah,
the
his
look.
definitely. Yeah, even at his later stage, he still looked sexy and charismatic.
Yeah.
But couldn't move.
Yeah. No,
So always had a stunt.
one of my favorite ones that he did was Live and Let Die.
Live and let die.
Mhm.
Yes,
And
and
great theme song too.
you know the first one is Moonraker. Moonraker. You
Moonraker.
remember?
I do remember Moonraker. And when that came out, it was 76 or 77. And it
True.
was directly an answer to Star Wars,
Yes, that's right. That's
right?
right. I
Because
read
they
about
went,
that.
oh, everybody's loving this Star Wars, this space theme. Let's make a space James Bond. Like it was crazy. But it was
And it was
good. They did
successful.
it.
Yeah,
Let's see. Moonraker was 1979.
right. Yeah, 79. That's right.
So Live and Let Die
That's
was his first one. Let's see. Yeah, so Live and Let Die was Roger Moore's first one, and that was 73. So I remember the thing about Live and Let Die, here's some juicy bits. I'm 13 years old, and I am or I'm around that. I'm in the back seat of my girlfriend's mom's car. So my girlfriend, my best friend, and her mom take us to the drive-in. And this is our treat, right? To get to see this movie because it's James Bond. It's kind of spicy, We're like young tween teenagers, and we're all excited. We're sitting in the back seat, and in Live and Let Die, I think this is when it opens up, and it was very controversial. And you have to think about the times. It was one of the first times that a white man kissed a black woman on screen,
wow. Shoot. Wow, I
and
didn't know.
we were just all excited because it's got kissing. But I remember later hearing all the hubbub about it. And I don't know from what, that's not nothing that I would pay attention to. But I remember the controversy at the time that it seemed to be this big deal. So they were for their bond was pushing the limits for the time, for the era. But it's good. It needed to. Like, oh, that's just crazy.
Well, I'll jump in and say probably that James Bond was the one who never had any boundaries.
Right. He didn't.
He just performed. I do enjoy your discussion, and I do have a few questions, probably for both Dr. C and Colleen. First would be, you mentioned the masculinity of the character. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch all films. I watched all the trailers and all the intros. Among all of the actors, to me, um, none of them, except for Daniel Craig, felt masculine and
Hmm.
strong. And I take it from the posture, I take it from their obviously muscular body, but also in the beginning when there's an intro, right? The Bond moves and
Hmm.
shoots, and the final thing when he shoots into the
Yeah.
camera,
Right.
there is a stance. It's like a bow stance in martial arts, right? And the last one of Daniel Craig is the only one stable. All the other folks, they have it shaken. It looks weak,
Hmm,
and that's something that caught my eye.
interesting.
And then the other scenes. I would love to hear your comment on that.
Colleen, you want to go or you want me to go
No,
first?
you
Go
go.
ahead.
Jump in.
I really love Daniel Craig's character. The reason why, since I'm an athlete, he was very athletic. He had an athletic body. He took care of his physique. He had the six pack and all that, you know. So had that physical, uh, sexual appeal about him, you know.
Hmm.
And yes, um, especially the scenes when he comes out of the beach in one of the movies. I don't remember which one, and the girl was like in awe, like, "Oh my God, what?"
Yeah, yeah.
She was
Yeah, Casino Royale. Yeah,
Casino
Casino Royale.
Royale.
Thank you. That's it. That the second one. Yes, that was Casino Royale. So, and and she rode her horse after that. You know, blah blah blah. So,
yeah,
but the reason why, out of all uh, uh, the characters, I think Daniel Craig had the best physique, the best shape. So he fit that character really well. So he portrayed good masculinity as well. Pierce Brosnan also, he had a good physique, as I think, not as good as Daniel Craig, but yeah. So I like that part about him, that he took care of his physique really well. So that helped boost his character really well.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the physique, what I will say is from a believability point of view, especially for if they're trying to portray the Bond that's closer to what Ian Fleming wrote, he is
Right.
brutish and he does have brute strength and he does fight his way out of a lot of things. So if you're looking at a man that doesn't look like they could do that, then it doesn't quite make sense.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Right, like the
Yeah.
other ones, but they adapted the films to the actors that they had. So like you mentioned, like with Roger Moore and George Lazenby and I see I my take on Pierce Brosnan is less about the brute strength and the physique and more about he was just suave, like he could figure his way out of things, he could think his way out of things. That's how he came across to me. But
Yeah. So I mean, that Daniel Craig, I think, is number one. When it comes to like a masculine look and nice physique, nice body. There's some people, like especially women, that love to see that. In a James Bond.
yeah. And I think Sean Connery had that brutish quality too. I don't,
No, yeah,
but
Connery,
yeah, they
iconic.
didn't
Yeah,
show him like in Doctor No. He is in a bathing suit on the beach when he sees Ursula Andress,
true,
um,
true.
and not
The
chiseled, not carved like Daniel Craig. So
yeah, not at
yeah.
all. Yeah, pretty
What do
much.
you think, Victor?
Well, again, I'm not a James Bond expert. I am enjoying the conversation with the experts. To me, with all these actors, even though it's the same character, I see it's like totally different franchises, probably just because of the actor, and it's
Yeah,
different.
they're
It's
very
the same, but all. And I'm more familiar with Daniel Craig's films. And again, the first film, which in his case was Casino
different. Hmm.
Royale, was probably the best done
Yeah, I love
in
that one.
multiple ways. And the other ones were kind of a little bit weaker. Um, that's just my personal feeling. I don't think I have um, any like facts or evidence. But even back to your question, Colleen, that you've asked Dr. C about the lady
Mm,
villain
yes,
or the villain. To me, Eva Green, she played in Casino Royale. Kind of, she was with him, but then we
right.
figured out that she was
She
not.
was playing against him
Uh,
too.
Mm.
yeah, to me, she was one of the best at this role, like a kind of lady villain. And I think the poker genius Le
Oh,
Chiffre
Le
was
Chiffre, right?
Mickelson, Matt
Yeah.
Mickelson.
Great
Oh
acting,
God, that
and
was so
Right?
good.
Yeah,
The blood
yeah,
dripping from his eyes. Oh, and
yeah,
he would just kind of like, no big deal.
and the reason why this movie like took off really well, because anybody who played poker, they enjoyed watching the movie over and over. It's funny.
yeah,
Because there's a lot of card games, poker in particular, and
Very
those
intense.
pieces were amazing. Yeah. So I'm a poker player, so I enjoyed watching how he played and how the succession of the scenes, and he almost died, and she came and revived him.
Yeah,
So that was hot.
it's good. That's
Yeah.
one of my
Yeah,
favorites too.
and then
Yeah.
and then after the Casino Royale, all the other films were slightly less. It's like, you run the first lap, you're full of power.
Yes.
Then the fifth, you're still there, and then the last one, you're just okay.
Yeah.
You're just gonna
Although
finish.
I'm gonna say
Although,
one of the best stunts, physical stunts, in my memory of all of there are many, many great ones, but I was blown away in No Time to Die in 2021 with Daniel Craig, the motorcycle stunt where he's
Oh, that.
running up the
Um,
side of the building and literally just it looks like he's going straight up the building and then goes over it. And they really did that. They used a guy performed by Paul Edmondson, who is a 4-time world enduro champion. He did that stunt. That's crazy. When you look at that, and it's real.
yeah.
It's not. They didn't fake it. It's not.
It is good.
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Colleen, also being a physician for these stunt people that they did, some of them did James Bond movies, as there's how many retakes. So you only see one, right?
Right.
But they did like maybe up to 10 retakes.
Right. So he didn't do it just
So
once, he did it like 10 times.
and then they get paid for every time. So don't get paid per hour. They get paid per scene. They get every time they retake, they get paid. And that time was like about $1,000 per scene.
Mm.
I, I thought they deserved a lot more.
Yeah,
You know?
that was amazing. That was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, agree. That
yeah, well, it's a really good point that Dr. C mentioned, that a lot of stunt doubles are really undervalued and underpaid.
Yeah.
underpaid. Yeah.
It begins it begins with Hong Kong, which is known for stunts and
Hmm.
action, and it does transfers here. I remember, it's probably a step away from James Bond film, but in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think it was mentioned really well that people didn't really even respect stunt
No.
doubles, especially in action. That was Bruce Lee, who he disrespected American stunt double to like the
Mm.
worst, and
Yeah.
that's a very important topic we
Well, we can do
definitely
that
need
on
to
the next one.
address.
Right.
What, of course, yeah,
Or
Jack,
down the
Jackie Chan. Sorry, I me too. Jackie Chan. I have so much respect for him because he did all his stunts and he broke
Yes.
like 100 bones in his body,
That's what I've
and
heard.
he stuntman. Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah.
So
Jackie Chan is probably the type of the best client for your clinic, Dr. Fu.
he probably had thickest X-ray file in the whole clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably he just does it electronically because
Yeah.
it's impossible to take
So
all of these films. Um, the last question to wrap up this nice conversation, and maybe we can continue also in more episodes because there's so much that we
Oh,
could discuss.
forever.
Dr. C, and Colleen, if you were to pick one out of all James Bond films and remake it,
Ooh.
being a director, what would you improve in those films? What would you do different? Dr. C,
uh,
I'm sure you're ready.
yeah. Well, like I said, I love all of them, but Casino Royale, it really left an impression for me. Um, I would have loved if there was a little bit more romance in the movie, and they made it a little bit longer. I think it would have given it more, uh, I say, more variety, more flavor. But besides that, it was an amazing movie. I mean, that was hardly missing anything. But maybe the romance element, that would have been one of the best movies of all time in my
Hmm.
book.
Yeah.
What about Daniel Craig's physique? Would you add some bicep to it, or some posing?
But you know me, being a bodybuilder, I would definitely cap his shoulder. I got his arms maybe 2 inches bigger. But again, like Colleen said, it wouldn't fit the character. it would look odd because he would be the most buffed. Uh,
He needs to be
uh,
agile too. He needs to be agile.
yeah, agile for sure. I mean, that's why they rely on stunts for almost for most scenes. They rely on stunts because they don't want to hurt the actor, of course.
Right.
So,
Right.
Well, thank you, Dr. C. Colleen, what about
Well,
you?
I've already mentioned it as one that I like the story. I would redo On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one that they did with
Mhm.
George Lazenby, and I would, well, it would be great to do it with Daniel Craig, but he's not doing it anymore. But I would redo that one, and I would redo it modern day, and have the romance and have him get married. And I would do the same thing. I love the story. I think it was really well done. It had a lot of pathos, and it really pulled on the heartstrings. We got to see the heart of James Bond, which we don't get to see much. We get to see his rough side and his joking side, and like he just has this hard edge, which he has to have for his job. But in that
right,
one, we got to see more of his heart, and I think like what you were saying, you wanted to see more romance in Casino Royale. Well,
true.
on Her Majesty's Secret Service, we could bring more of that out. So I would remake that one.
I agree.
Well, on this positive note, we'll pause our discussion on James Bond. We'll definitely be back because I see we have so many details to discuss, and even I got inspired to rewatch all the films.
Good.
Yeah.
Um, Dr. C, thank you so much for coming to our show today.
Thank you.
Colleen, thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us
You for the
as usual, and please stay tuned, and we will see
Thank
you
you,
soon.
Victor.
Colleen, take
You
care.
too.
Victor, be well, stay healthy. Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.